What's up, everyone? It's the God, Young Montu-Ra, and welcome to Montu-Ra, the podcast, where I talk about the good, the bad, and the downright dirty of music, business, and spirituality. What's up, my gods and goddesses? Thank you all for tapping in. This is episode 2 of Montu-Ra, the podcast, and this episode is going to be about the weekly cosmic forecast. And before we get started, I want everybody to know I am a certified astrologer. I did get my certification from the Los Angeles School of Astrology. So I've been studying for about 6 or 7 years now, and I want people to understand this is something that comes from deep study. This is my interpretation, but this is also from the Most High. And I have spent years and years diving deep into astrology. And the reason was because of my spiritual awakening. I was, in a sense, trying to find answers, trying to find myself. And I got tapped into astrology, and it did help me to interpret my life. And now I am giving readings weekly. You can obviously email me at officialmontu.ra if you do want a reading, and I would love to help you through our spiritual process. So without further ado, let's talk about where the sun is. So I'm going to break everything down as we continue to make more episodes, but like I said, this is going to be like the weekly forecast where all the planets are and how we're going to be able to use this information. So right now we are in Gemini season. So this started back in May 21st and we're headed to June 21st, right before the summer solstice. So I do think this sun in Gemini energy is going to give us the knowledge, and diversity is what's going to like motivate us, right? So this is going to help us to be more social, intellectual, and to be very curious under this influence. And the reason I say that is because we've all been going through a lot with the past solar eclipse, the lunar eclipse energies, because that was a very emotional time for us, because we had to clean out our closet in the sense of all our past maybe traumas and struggles, so we can get to this point and be more free. So I do think this Gemini sun is going to help us to be a bit more free and to be able to communicate our freedom in a number of ways. But I do want people to understand is that we can't scatter this energy. We have to make sure we stay on task, because the Gemini energy is very curious, and we're going to be aware of a lot of options that we want to go to. We're going to have a lot of directions and different ideas. But I want people to understand this is something that can be that can benefit us, and it can also be detrimental. So I just want to say that as we continue to move through May and head into June, is that we don't want to scatter our energy and try to do too much. I know I get that way sometimes. I just want to do everything, but we're gonna have to definitely focus and make our plans and make sure we stick to that. So Gemini represents the duality of life, right? So the energy is very intelligent. It's going to help us to be more optimistic this month, and very observant and adaptable. So we're going to be able to be in different situations and kind of go with the flow type energy is something that is resonating with me right now. But I do see a lot of skepticism ready for us to consider like an alternate way of thinking. So I want people to understand like we have to be prepared to exchange ideas and share and teach and guide others, so we can get that information and gather a ton of information during this Sun and Gemini cycle. I do see us benefiting from this transit in that way. So this energy is going to help us to become very quick-witted, maybe cheerful. I know I'm getting turned up right now as I'm talking, but it is a bit different from the Taurus energy, the Taurus sun, where we were all trying to figure things out and basically build that foundation. Now this is helping us to be a bit more engaging, and like I said, being able to be more adaptable in a lot of situations. But I do want people to understand as well, like this energy is very clever and crafty with this influence. I do see the downside, or the other path of it, or the other pole is it can come out as being a lot of gossipy, like, right? So we can't be taking everybody's word that we see on TV. This can help us to, this may be detrimental, like I said, to like, oh, we're going to listen to this, or somebody said this, and now we're talking about people and things like that. This is the type of energy that is just, I'm talking on a broad sense. So the other downside is like trying to be overly intellectual. Right now, we think we're too smarter than, we're way smarter than people, or too, we know too much, and we're trying to maybe rationalize our own ideas on the people. So I want people to understand this is something that we're going to have to understand and maybe process this information a bit more. Gemini is an air sign, so that is why the vocals and the speech and things like that is something very important. But also, it's like we can't live too much in our heads as well. So I do see us maybe a way we can benefit from this is maybe disconnecting a bit from our heart center, because that's where all that emotional baggage has been leading up to this point. Like I said about the eclipse season, we were a lot in our hearts, we were in our past, we were definitely connected to things that were done with us, right? So we had to let things go and heal. Now we're in the healing process. Now we have to think more with our minds and be more intellectual, and maybe disconnect from our heart center just a bit, so we can kind of interpret it and maybe get a better strategy moving forward as we continue to grow through this process, especially while the sun is in Gemini. So I do see this energy being very, very beneficial for us, but at the same time, we have to be able to um, kind of learn from ourselves in this sense, maybe guide ourselves and listen a bit more, because we have so much that we want to say and do that I do see us maybe overlooking or not actually getting the information that we actually need moving forward. So I do see us having kind of both poles, and like I say, finding that balance with this Gemini sun is going to be of the utmost importance. So then I want to talk about like Mercury. Mercury's in Taurus. I'm going to go in order from the sun down to Pluto, and then we'll talk about June 3rd, which we're going to have that full moon in Sagittarius. I'm going to go in order basically from the planets on how far they are away from the sun. So now we're going to talk about Mercury in Taurus, and I want to make this clear. This has been a huge transit since April 3rd. It's still going on until June 11th, and that is because of Mercury retrograde. And I want people to understand as well is that Mercury isn't retrograde anymore, but we are still in that shadow phase. It has to get back to around that 15.45 degree mark before we can start to see things kind of pick up in our communication, just in our daily lives about different situations. So we might have been experiencing a lot of delays. Mercury did go retrograde in Taurus April 21st, and it did stop around May 14th, but we are still in that shadow phase. I just want to make that clear. So we're not out of the clear yet, but while Mercury is and has been in Taurus, our thinking, I believe, has come back down to earth, right? We're a bit more solid. We're a bit more grounded in our communication. Common sense is going to reign a bit more so than maybe that imagination, right? We're thinking a bit more conscious. We're actually thinking about situations that can really work. We're not living too far in the clouds. So I do think, and I do feel that as a whole, we are communicating more deliberately under this influence, right? So our minds are more oriented to the world of the five senses, and we prefer the tried and true rather than new ways of thinking. I love that. Is because now, like I said, we're thinking more deliberate. We're thinking of really common sense ways to manifest our desires or to strategize into whatever we're trying to do, right? So attention to one thing at a time, like I said, will simplify our lives. And this kind of goes with why this is so important, is because Mercury is the ruler of Gemini. Now the sun is in Gemini. We have to understand why I was talking about that balance is going to be very, very important as we continue to move forward, is because we want our attention on one thing, like I said. And that's why this full moon is going to be so important in Sagittarius. But I want people to understand as well, there may be some dangers as well of being too narrow-minded, overly conservative, or rigid thinking. I do think it's a time for us to have that practical intelligence and being comfortable with the pace of our decisions and thought processes. So meaning not letting anybody kind of make you speed things up, or making you uncomfortable in situations because you haven't because we may not have processed things as fast enough, or as smart enough as somebody else, or even how we think. So definitely let's be patient continuously while Mercury is still in Taurus. But I do think we are capable and content with our routes, like with our routine, because we're being more deliberate right now. Uh, the monotonous work and methods is something that's working right for us. So like I tell everybody, it's like, while Mercury is in Taurus, let's make sure our schedule is on deck. Let's make sure we have that sense of groundedness and being content. We have to understand Taurus, that energy is always about being secure. That's always an energy, that's an earth sign, so it's going to be helping us to be more focused on what we're saying, and definitely having a sense of contentment, and patience is another word that I like to use when we're talking about that Taurus energy, especially Mercury. Like I said, Mercury is about ideas, it's about moving fast. It only takes about 88 days for Mercury to go around the sun. So it's definitely like a process type deal where it's just going to move faster. But now we're able to take it while it's in Taurus, to be patient, take a step back, and really start to appreciate the process and not rush anything. So that is what I see us kind of going through as a whole while Mercury is in Taurus. So now I want to talk about Venus. Um, and Venus is in Cancer. It's been in Cancer since May 7th, and it will be entering Leo around June 5th or June 6th. So we still have about a week or so while Venus is in Cancer. While in Cancer, the Venus energy um, is very nurturing, right? It's protective, self-protective, cautious, and very fertile as well. We have to understand that Venus, the goddess energy, and I want people to understand this, and I have to say this as a sidebar, is like, when we're talking about Venus, we're talking about the goddess energy. I am also talking about the God energy. The buzzwords of today are masculine and feminine, and they're like it's separate. And I want people to understand, listening to this podcast, the masculine and feminine energy, they are one. We are together. The outside world is going to try to project that to make others think that everything is separate. We can separate things from gender, race, religion, politics, blah, 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 right? But that is not what I'm over here saying. We're all one, we're all together. Don't get influenced by the outside world. And I just have to say that as a sidebar, because some men and some women think that we're different in the sense of masculine men and you don't have any feminine energy, or feminine energy for a woman and they don't have no masculinity. That's bullshit. I'm just going to be honest. But I tell everybody, please do your own research while you're listening to this podcast, because I want people to understand where they're going, and the information that you see here, I hope that it sparks you to want to dive deep into your own self. And if this is what I'm saying resonates with you, and then you do your own research and you come back and say, oh, I really like that, now we're on the same frequency. So I have to say that as a sidebar before I continue. So while Venus is in Cancer, I do believe we're going to experience many emotional ups and downs under this influence due to the increase of sensitivity, right? We have to understand that Cancer energy is ruled by the moon. That is going to help us to be more tender. While Venus is in Cancer, that's that romantic and being a bit more attached to our loved ones, maybe our home life. That is something that is going to be very important for the next week or so. That has been very important for us since May 7th as well. So I do see maybe the other side of this energy can come off as us being clingy, or kind of being too attached, right? Like, we have to understand that we have to be, I'm going to always talk about this, that balance of the energies. But while Venus is in Cancer, the home, our love for our home, maybe decorating different things, or maybe communicating our love for the people in our home, is very important. So I don't take that lightly as well. So while this Venus is in Cancer, the Cancer love is dedicated, warm, and devoted, right? So we're going to show our love through our devotion, our care, and our concern. We are affectionate and cuddly during this transit. And at our best, that is when we feel safe and secure. So I also want people to understand we want to make our loved ones feel safe and comfortable. And that is why it's so important that we tell people that we love them during this transit and before and after this transit, right? We can say that about anything, but during this time period between May 7th and June 5th, I do believe we have been all kind of doing our best to communicate our love to one another, being able to be receptive of that love as well, and taking care of ourselves is something that might hit home for others as well. So I do think this is a good cycle for us to be maybe collecting our money in like real estate activities, maybe food type of endeavors, coins. I know I love my silver as well, and maybe antiques. I see is very important. We have to understand Venus is that energy, like I said, rules that Taurus, right? So that is how everything works together. We have Mercury in Taurus, but Venus is in Cancer, but Venus rules Taurus, right? So we have to kind of think of how we're breaking everything down in this sense, because this Taurus energy is still making its way in Cancer because of Venus. So that is something that I see. The money matters, and things like that is something of very importance right now as well. So as we enjoy our homey, familiar pastimes in art and simple pleasures in life, I do want people to be a bit cautious of the feelings. We may not be as confident or maybe even as bold as we normally would with sharing things during this cycle. So definitely take the time to kind of understand who we're dealing with, who we're kind of venting to about our life, because we just never know. We have to always protect ourselves. And I want to say this again, it's like Venus is in Cancer. Now we're talking about the Cancerian energy. A crab has that hard outer shell, excuse me, and Venus is about love, beauty, and art, right? So we always have to protect ourselves, protect our love, protect our art. Don't overshare, especially with people that we aren't maybe quite sure about. So that is something to keep in mind during this transit, as well as during this week as well. So however, I do see that whatever we can make our loved ones feel in our life, is we definitely want them to feel special. So our memories are long, and we can be very sentimental in this time as well. I know I've been kind of sharing my heart with my loved ones and people that are very important to me in my life. So especially during this past month, it's been very emotional for me to kind of get my past demons. And I got a song called Inner Demons, things that we're trying to, like I said, get the clutter out of our lives, especially in our home, because that is very important as we continue to move forward. So that's a little bit about Venus and Cancer. I want to move to Mars and Leo. I love Mars. I love this God of War energy is finally making its way back into a fire sign of Leo. So this has started May 20th to to July 10th. So it's a nice transit. I do see this Leo energy and Mars is going to make us a bit more proud, self-confident, and grand. I love that. It's like we've all been waiting for this energy. If you have had a reading from me or went to another platform that I'm on, I'm always preaching and talking about this Mars finally getting into Leo. Is because we had that emotional things that have been happening the past few months for us. Now we have that action. Remember, Mars is about the way in which we act. Now it's in that Leo. So now we have that heart of a lion spirit, right? We're very spirited right now because we have these grand goals that we all want to attain, right? And I want people to understand as we continue to move through the cosmos is that with Mars and Leo, we're going to go after what we want in a direct, self-assured manner. So if we remember Mars and Cancer, that was giving us that emotional being that we had to kind of understand. We were almost like fighting with ourselves, is something that I see definitely resonated with me a lot. But I do see that on a global scale, kind of having that internal beef with ourselves, to say the least. So I do think This is a great time for us to maybe not worry so much about the details in life and take that step forward. And I do see the least and complicated route to our goals, right? The path of least resistance. I do see us using that more so than going head first into something that we don't know about. So we're going to always have that game plan, like we talked about, while the sun is in Gemini, while Mercury is in Taurus, having that game plan that we've kind of been using and strategizing for the past month and a half. Now it is time to put that to the test. So I do see our sex drive being very strong, and the passion for life is high. Remember that Leo energy is about leaving a legacy, children, being the star of the show. So while Mars is in Leo, it can awaken that competitive spirit or drive in us. I love this. So we're going to be more willing to take risk, and I want people to understand taking calculated risk. I'm not telling you to do something that you have no experience in and thinking it's going to work out because you heard an astrology reading. I'm not telling you that. I'm saying take the information and the strategies and the different things that you've been planning for. This is a great time to actually put those in action. But if we have done that, I do think we're going to make a huge splash, and that is going to put us in that driver's seat. So this transit that I'm talking about with Mars and Leo, it's going to have us become more passionate, but we also might be a bit more dramatic as well, because Leos are the star of the show, right? I'm a Leo, but at the same time, I want people to understand, I say this all the time, is with the difference really between Leos and that Aries energy. Remember, Mars rules Aries. So that Leo energy, we need the crowd in front of us. The Aries energy doesn't need the crowd. So some of us can get a bit hurt if we aren't very accepted about our feelings or our art, right? So we might get our egos hurt about different things like that. But I do see us being very passionate and having that dramatic sense as well moving forward. But we do seek to appear very strong on our own personal levels. I do see us preferring to take the lead, and like I said, being the center of attention, being the star of the show. But we can get particularly angry if, like I said, we feel disrespected or people aren't acknowledging us in the light that we would like. So let's not take that to heart while Mars is in Leo, or if you have a lot of Leo energy, let's take everything with a grain of salt as we continue to move forward through this transit. So it did start, like I said, May 20th, and it's going to be in Virgo around July 11th. So, we still have a bit of time while we are in this Mars and Leo transit. So I say take full advantage of this time. So next we're going to talk about Jupiter in Taurus, and I love Jupiter by all means. Been talking about Jupiter for several years now, but I want people to kind of get an understanding of how Jupiter is going to play its role, especially it being in Taurus. We've had a lot of Taurus energy for the past few months, so with Jupiter being there, it's definitely going to bring us it's definitely going to expand us. So Jupiter is a planet that does the expansion. Whatever we look upon, good or bad, it's going to expand us, it's going to grow us, and I believe it's going to bless us. And the Taurus energy is about money, being stable, having that stability. So Jupiter is going to expand that, and I hope for all in the best way. So the timeline with Jupiter, so Jupiter travels from May 16th this year to May 25th, 2024 in Taurus. There is going to be a retrograde that's going to happen around September 4th to about December 31st, December 30th of this year. And then it's finally going to like I said, it's going to leave Taurus around May 25th, 2024. So with Jupiter being in Taurus, I do believe we're going to function at our best when we feel comfortable and secure, right? We're still talking about that Taurus energy, but Jupiter is going to bring us a lot of opportunities related to us being patient, building that foundation, strengthening our efforts, and focusing on the comfort, stability, and longevity. I love that. So we definitely want to take full advantage of this transit for the next year. I do see us all um, definitely laying the grounds for what we desire. So there can be a delight for sensual pleasures, a desire for the simple things of life, the good life that we talk about. But I do see in contrast like an urgency of the previous Jupiter cycle while Jupiter was in Aries. We can take pleasure now in pursuing our goals in a more drawn out and leisurely fashion, watching our profits or possessions slowly but surely accumulate. So remember, this Taurus energy is still here. This Jupiter in Taurus is going to help us say, be patient. Let's watch our accounts get better. Um, let's continue to put in the work, but also saying, hey, everything doesn't have to happen today. And that is something that I can definitely relate to. I want things to happen now, just like everybody else. But I know being patient sometimes and most times can be the best result for us. So during this cycle, I see the basic needs have to be met to satisfy us before we can pursue our goals. So having security in our home life, having a security in our relationships, having a secure job or business, those are the things that's going to help us maybe satisfy us and help us to be a bit more content while we go pursue our bigger dreams. So we will win good fortune, I believe, all of us, when we observe wisely rather than jump in too quickly. And that is why I talked about the Aries energy while Jupiter was in Aries. It kind of made us jump in a little bit, like, we were just going head first, right? Because of that fire, that passion of the Aries energy, of that God of War energy, like I just talked about, with it being in Leo now, with Jupiter was in Aries. uh, those are something that we may not have considered the long game, and that is what Taurus, this Jupiter and Taurus energy is helping us to consider the long term value. I think is something that we're planning for. Like I said, laying that structure, laying that foundation, and I do think this is going to become like more natural for us while Jupiter transits Taurus. So we're going to value the steadiness, the persistence, the longevity, the predictability, the naturalness, the self-willed efforts I see us doing, and the determination during this Jupiter cycle. I do see that is something that is going to be of our benefit. So our attitudes and values concerning religion, maybe moral conduct, education, and politics are more pragmatic and conventional, right? So we might be tapped into maybe things that are just kind of way they are type energy, as far as what our money, the way our resources, our material life, right? But obviously, if you're listening to this, this is definitely a more spiritual understanding instead of the material understanding as well. So I do see us prefer that. People are going to be maybe more natural, polite, maybe, but you know, they're still. This is the extreme, right? So we're always going to be talking about the most of people in what I'm saying is like, yeah, the energy is going to help us to be a bit more of who we are and polite, but not necessarily crude, I guess is what I'm saying. So we embrace what's natural and establish long lasting and straightforwardness. We respect tradition during this sense of energy, the consistency, being loyal, honor, and the durability. We have to understand that Taurus energy is about that tradition, is about the being loyal, is about keeping your word in just different matters of understanding. So I want people to understand that Jupiter energy in us is going to help us to stay consistent with our goals, to take it one step at a time, to lay the foundation, lay it brick by brick, and not thinking we have to do it all in one day. But on the other side, remember, Taurus is that bull energy. While Jupiter is there, we can be a bit stubborn, right? We can be too self-focused on getting that check or getting that baggie. So we can't overdo it, is what I'm saying. So the negative manifestations include, like I said, too narrow-mindedness, too insensitive to others' needs, and failing to consider others' points. Remember that bull energy, once it has that target, it's going to go forward. It may not take other people's self into consideration. So that is something I want us as a whole to be aware of. While Jupiter is making this transit for about a year now. So I do see maybe looking at different points of view from others is how we're going to be able to understand this energy. And I do see us maybe resisting change, and innovation can be a situation that kind of stifles our our life in whichever way that might be. So that is something that I see Jupiter having a good and bad and middle ground effect through this transit for the next year till about May 25th, 2024. So let's definitely look out about that. Like I said, I will be doing these weekly cosmic forecast readings, but I also will do some other episodes where I'm breaking down like every planet, and maybe we do something to where it's just has a more focus. But I want people to get a whole understanding as well as what's going on in the cosmos as well. So like I said, if you do want a real reading for yourself, please send me an email at official Montu-Ra, and we can schedule an appointment and everything like that as well. So our next planet we're going to talk about, our next star, is that Saturn energy. Saturn is in Pisces right now. So it got into Pisces around March 7th of this year, 2023. And it's going to be in Pisces till about May 24th, 2025. So obviously it's going to go retrograde a bit, and then from September 1st, 2025 until February 13th, 2026. So it's going to be making its way in Pisces for the next few years. So while Saturn is in Pisces, I do see us maybe as a whole, maybe having some frustrations with the achievement. And I want people to understand about this Saturn energy. Saturn is about boundaries, it's about structure, it's about restriction, right? So this Saturn energy makes us, it can make us a bit frustrated in the sense of we're setting limitations on ourselves, because we're getting frustrated because of our practical goals until we learn to integrate our material and non-material values. This is a spiritual time for all of us, and the stars are saying it as well. So with Saturn and Pisces, we may feel a bit uncomfortable with big shows, or feeling vulnerable or weak. And I love that. This is something that we all need to understand. However, I do feel like we may not be fully allowing ourselves to be human sometimes. Like we just like we set no limits. Like we think we put limits on ourselves, and then we put limits on the universe as well sometimes. So I do think sometimes we think we're limitless, and then we say, oh no, I can't do this, because of our thinking. So I do see that limiting ourselves in a sense, because we know that the Most High is limitless. There's nothing that we can't do, and that is something that I want to share, that I'm starting to really learn as well. So I do see us working hard because we're going to feel like we're the underdog as well. So I do see that we should like watch maybe others, because not being too kind or complimenting us and supporting us. I do see something like that kind of resonating in the sense of that, because we can't be bothered with that, right? We can't play the victim all the time. We have to take our spirituality to another level, and just to put ourselves out there in whichever way we see. But I do see this as being spiritual. We have to understand Pisces is about that spirituality, that the unknown is something that I see with the Pisces energy. So sometimes we may lack in our faith, and I do see us needing to tap back in to trust our intuition of life itself. We can frequently feel vaguely fearful during this transit. So this is going to be a few years while Saturn is in Pisces, but I do see us maybe feeling a bit more comfortable offering tangible help and advice than that emotional sense of support for others, right? So we might want to be able to have something physically or intellectually to give to others, instead of just feeling like it's just an emotional type stance for us as well. So we should learn to recognize how we may limit ourselves, like I said before, and our experiences if we deny our connection to the more vulnerable, messy, or chaotic sides of ourselves as well. So I do think it's a step-by-step, slowly but surely process while Saturn is in Pisces. I love that. So there is some tendencies to avoid scrutiny at all costs. So let's just go in is basically what I'm thinking. What's it making me feel is like, let's go all in into our dreams, into our goals, into our spirituality, because if we don't, this can lead us to miss opportunities. I just talked about Saturn making us look at our boundaries, making us look at our limits of life. But I do see if we just go all in whatever we're passionate about and whatever our dreams, our goals are, I do see us kind of coming out at the end being victorious. So I do sense a sense of strongness and being resilient during this time. We can sometimes doubt ourselves, and that is something that I see that some of us might actually fall in that trap. So I do think quietly working hard can be a real strength in this position. We're learning to allow ourselves to be creative and imaginative. We have to understand that Pisces energy is about imagination, but it's about deep diving into the soul of the spirituality, the unknown, the unseen, right? So we are also capable of considering effort and hard work and support and service as well. So it might be easier for us to put aside our ego at this time in order to get things done. And I think that has to resonate with a lot of us, is because take Saturn and Pisces out of it, take the planets out of it, and we think, hey, maybe we're just using our ego. Maybe because we have to use, you know, we have to just use that love for people or that love for what we do. And if people don't recognize us, or if people don't say, hey, I love what you do, if we're not getting the recognition that we desire, that doesn't mean that we're not recognized, right? That just means that on the outside where they may not, but the Most High knows it all. So I love that as well. So we're going to move next to Uranus, or Uranus is in Taurus. That Taurus energy is still here. I love that. So during this transit, Uranus transits Taurus from May 15th, 2018 to November 6th, 2018. And then because of the retrograde motion, and then from March 6th, 2019 until about 2025, 2026. So this definitely has something to do with our finances, with our resources, and definitely laying the foundation for a life. But I want people to understand that Uranus energy is about rebellion, innovation, and revolution. So in the outside world, there might be things that are just starting to, we're all starting to, like I said, look for that information, tap deep into our souls, is because that is what's resonating with us right now. That is what's actually that's the vibration that is going on with us, because this is a revolutionary time. This is a transformation for all of us, if we know it on a conscious or subconscious level. But while Uranus is in Taurus, we approach money and personal possessions in new ways and learn to free ourselves from certain material constraints. Innovative ways to make ourselves comfortable emerge. Ooh, we got some great ideas brewing up, right? We got some great things happening for us that we haven't just released yet. Oh, it's happening. Oh, we're gonna get ready. Let's go. But I do see us being less inhibited about expressing sensuality, self-love, body love, and pampering. All above, though, I do see some challenges. Those are the things that might be challenging us pretty much during this transit. So there can be an abrupt change with our money, our values, our possessions, and income that lead to a reshuffling of our priorities or values. I do see that Uranian energy. I say this all the time: expect the unexpected with Uranus during this period in our life, these next few years. So I do see that being a very positive impact for all of us. So I do think like income might come from non-traditional sources or ventures. In general, we're bringing progressive ideas to the world of our business. So this is something that we're going to tap into, new ideas. The Most High is going to give us these ideas, but we have to act fast with this energy. New ways of doing business, as well as making, viewing, and handling money, are likely as well. So our income and the energy we put into making money can be variable. So I love that. So this Uranus energy is something that I see us having to take advantage very fast, in the sense of an idea that comes into our life. If the Most High gives us an idea, and I can be a vessel to say this, is that if the Most High gives me an idea, I'm going to go ahead and use it because it didn't just come in my brain just because, right? So we have to think of it like that and think instead of thinking, oh, we have this amazing idea and then, oh, we don't see the possibility because we may not have the money, we may not have the resources, we may not know somebody to do whatever, right? But this is something that I can definitely say is that hey, I'm actually in the Netherlands right now. I went into London the past 3 months and have been doing my production and DJing and things like that and doing music and found a passion for DJing and continuing to rap and produce my own songs and write my own lyrics. But hey, I'm getting a lot of opportunities that are just starting to come now because I just had the idea from the Most High. So that is just a sidebar, but that is something that definitely we can learn from as well. So I do want to talk about Pluto in Aquarius this week. While Pluto is retrograde, this Pluto transit moves so slow as well. It's because it spends most of its time during this transit in retrograde. So it's stopped right now. It's barely moving. As I talk about it on today, it's at about 0.13 degrees. So this is something that I see taking its time. This is a generational planet. So while Pluto first entered Aquarius back in March of this year, 2023, it's not until November 19, 2024 that is going to enter Aquarius and stay there for almost 20 years. So just a background on Pluto is like it takes approximately 248 years to make a full circle around the cosmos. So slowly moving planets transits are long lasting, and each transit takes its time to unfold. So we may not see this energy actually impact our lives for several years down the line. But in general, how is Pluto going to affect our lives depends greatly on whether we resist this influence or try to work with this energy, depending on our, like I said, this is a rebirth of our life, but it is also about our destiny as well. So this transiting Pluto brings intensity and focus to our lives. Pluto breaks through the illusions in search of the utter truth, and that's what we have been talking about, and that has what's been going on since I believe 2020, and I'll talk about that on another episode. But this Pluto energy is about transformation. It's about the subconscious mind. We may not be vibing with this energy right now is because we may not be tapped in consciously, but on a subconscious level, I do see that resonating with a lot. So like I said, breaking through the illusions, these are not the Saturn truths that I'm talking about, though, where we see things for what they are in a mundane or materialistic life. Pluto is going to probe us a bit deeper, shining the light on the darkness, the things that we've been trying to hide, the unknown, the things we've been sweeping under the rug. I do see transiting Pluto is going to offer us a chance to evolve. And what did I say earlier? Rebirth, like I said. This is a time for all of us. I'm getting kind of passionate about it. I'm about to start screaming. I'm getting super geeked up about this is because I want people to understand. I've been studying this for years, and I've been saying these since 2020. There was that the great conjunction that we've been talking about with Jupiter and Saturn, and because of that, that was the beginning of this new energy that came in. Now I do believe it did happen a couple years prior, but 2020 was that beginning to where either we're going to fight for our change or fight ourselves about the outside world, or we're going to tap in spiritually. We had the transition to make. We had the choice to make. Either we're going to take that red or blue pill, is what I like to say. So if you're listening to this, you're definitely taking that red pill. So Pluto is going to act to strip away what is unnecessary or superficial in our lives, and we're going to start to see that. We've already started to see that kind of on the internet as well. People not taking people's words for it just because they got a lot of likes and followers and all this jazz. We're actually going to tap in deeper because Pluto wants us to deepen our experience of the transformational kind. Things are not working for us, whether we thought processes of our lifestyle are going to undergo that transformation. So we are in a rebirth area of our life, and I do see us being affected by this energy. So this Pluto transit is all about letting go of things that are holding us back from profound and meaningful experiences. Ooh, I'm sounding epic right now. If you're listening to this is something that we all need, including me. And I want people to understand this as well. I am just a vessel from the Most High. I'm just here to interpret the energy that is coming out of the cosmos. I am going through this process, and like I said before, we are going through this together. So I don't want anybody to think I have the answers for your life. I am nobody's guru. I am nobody's spiritual healer. I am nobody's accountant. I am just a vessel from the Most High. So I'm grateful for this. So the fear with this plutonic energy that might sometimes make us be a bit more intense. I do see us. I do see that this transit of Pluto kind of revealing itself in the beginning that might be challenging for us. But I do see us confronting the dark side of those parts of our life that are maybe raw, uncut, instinctive, but resisting this energy, resisting this process of change. I do see that kind of externalizing ourselves and maybe projecting that onto others, that fear of the unknown. So like I say before, it's like fight for your own limitations is if people are trying to project their insecurities on us as well. So this Pluto energy is going to revolutionize parts of ourselves, and even events that occur at this time can just as easily be new relationships, births, new beginnings, like I said. And I do want to talk about like the more possible influences and experiences with this transit in Pluto. So this can kind of bring about some psychological healing that we might have to go through, looking for truth and deeper meaning in our life, the beginning, the new beginning, maybe bringing on an intense relationship, soul to soul connections with our partners and loved ones as well. And I do think this is a transformational cycle as well for all of us as we continue to go through this spiritual journey. And last but not least, and I'm going to do a whole episode on this full moon in Sagittarius that is going to be June 3rd and June 4th of this week. So I'm super excited to talk about that. But I want to have a whole new episode for that because we're going to dive deep in this Sagittarius full moon. But as far as the timing, so when you hear this, we can kind of get prepared. On June 3rd, EST, Eastern Standard Time, the full moon is going to be at 11:42 p.m. If you're on the West Coast, PST, it's going to be 8:42 p.m. If you're out here with me in the Netherlands, it's going to be June 4th, 6:42 a.m. And if you are in the UK, it's going to be 5:42 a.m. as well. So that wraps up your weekly cosmic forecast. I appreciate everybody for tapping in on today. Like I said, we're going to do a whole full moon episode coming out this Friday. Thank you everybody for tapping in. It's the God Young Montu-Ra, and I will see you in the next one.